Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to talk about the five back in football video games and why it is a common misconception that this is some kind of voodoo formation that just puts a brick wall in front of your goal, like the park the bus system that you use in many formations, when that's just a misconception. And I'll give you a little history on how the five back became a formation, any type of five back, the 5-2-3, the 5-3-2, the 5-1-2-1-2, or 5-2-1-2. Sorry, just how it became just a formation with such a bad reputation, right? So let's get into that. And this was triggered by I had one of the common comments. It's not the first one, and I'm not mad at this person at all because many people have this common make this common mistake in judgment. So I definitely want to go over it. It's important because I do believe right now that 5-2-3 that I released is the most meta formation in the UFL. So I'm going to first start with this. Go look at a five back and then go look at a three back. And I want you to notice that they are the exact same thing. Okay? Now, if I would have said instead of a 5-2-3, if I would have said a 3-4-3, right? No one would have batted an eye, right? If I would have said instead of a 5-2-3, I would have said a 5-2-5, sorry, a 3-2-5, no one would have batted an eye. They would have said, wow, you can dominate with this super attacking formation, only three backs. But guess what, guys? A lot of times, that's exactly what a five back plays like in game. But people see that starting picture and hear five defenders, no way. And then when the opposition's attacking, another problem with is you see that those five defenders across the field, and you're like, no way. I totally understand where you're coming from, but it's not the case that the five back is just this super OP park the bus method. Now, what makes it come across that way, the history of it, goes back to FC and their broken spacing and their broken AI assistance. And I get where if people say, hey, they're concerned because UFL's game is broken right now defensively, yes, you are absolutely right. That does make the five back that much more powerful. But it's the game needing to fix their defensive system for everything, for any formation, because the AI assistance is too strong and the spacing is broken. It has nothing to do with five back, right? Because when you play a five back, what you're doing is you're sacrificing an attacker or a midfielder to then put in your back line. But what this allows you to do is because you have those three backs covering, those two wing backs are able to push up and help. Now, just like any formation, you can make this into a park the bus, right? But I could do that with a 4-4-2, a 4-5-1, a 4-4-1-1, 4-2-3-1. I could do park the bus with any formation, simply dropping my depth all the way back and making my width all the way narrow, right? Because right now, UFL, they call for pretty much no crossing, so why wouldn't you make your formation the most narrow? That's where all of the dangerous opportunities are coming from outside of players driving the byline to play a center, cutback pass. But even then, you want your wingback coming from the center and kind of blocking off those wingers from starting out wide, right? So you want the wingers to run into your wingback or your wingback to have to go meet them further out wide. You don't want your wingback way out wide and then the winger can just easily get around them. And now that wingback kind of didn't even serve a purpose. So the point is that's not park the bus. That's tactical. But because it says five backs in it instead of three backs, right? And because you'll see that picture of the team with the ball attacking a five back system and you see that five defenders all the way across, but it's so easy to beat if you're not good defensively. That's the other thing people don't give thought to, right? Because you don't have that strong midfield presence in front of those five backs. So you have to be very good at switching into one of those three center backs or one of your wing backs and pulling up and putting pressure on the opposition. Otherwise, they're going to just pass the ball around the edge of the box until they see a hole to dribble through or until they get a snapshot. And you're not going to have as many midfielders to try to provide pressure, back pressure, to force a mistake. So it can absolutely be a bad defensive formation if you're not good at using it. It can be helpful in the sense that, for me, in this current meta, and why the 5-back's helpful, period, is that you can take one of your defenders and put pressure on an attacker that you otherwise wouldn't be able to, because if you pull that defender out of the defensive shape, good players will simply pass through that gap that you leave, right? You're putting too much of a gap in your defense if you defend too aggressively in a 4-back, right? So a 5-back allows you to take one of your defenders, right? Say a wing back on a winger, so they can't try to drive that in line. You can get to them and defend them before they get a chance, or trying to pull a center back and put heavy pressure on an attacker in the middle in front of the goal so they can't get a snapshot or even a one-time shot, right? That's why I like the 5-back. Then in the attack, it's brilliant too. Now, it used to not be, because UFL needed to patch up their wingback positioning. But once they did that, now you don't have to put the wingbacks on do not cross the halfway line. Now you can put them on support to the attack, or even you could put them on attacking runs. Personally, I use mine on support the attack, and they become wing midfielders. So again, really, you're playing a 3-back, right? It's just those wingers end up coming a little bit further back, but they absolutely join the attack. Your opponent absolutely will get the opportunity to counter you when you only have 3 backs. It is not by any means people see this picture like you see in the background and go, oh, that's Ratty, look at all those defenders. It's a common misconception. I'm just here to clear that up. If you want to use a 5-back but you're worried about what people think, throw that out the window. Those people are just, with all due respect, they just don't have football knowledge or football video game knowledge. This all started, by the way, as far as, oh, it's so ratty, when FC had their broken spacing and broken defensive system, and 5-back was the ultimate way to take advantage of that. That's when it started, and they wouldn't use their wingbacks as attackers at all. They would literally just sit 5-backs all the way defensively and then hold R1 and let R1 AI assistants do the work, to where you didn't even have to control any backs, okay? For one, my settings aren't set up that way. For two, if you do want to argue anything about broken, the 5-back being broken, you would have to say any formation defensively can be broken right now with the right settings to accompany UFL's broken defense system, all right? So if you're ever playing a 5-back and it's just so hard to beat, or it seems ratty, okay, that's because the game you are playing, which in this case it's UFL, needs to overhaul their defensive system. Because 5-back is not just this automatic, you're not going to give up goals if you use this. It takes skill to use. It takes away midfielders, it takes away an attacker, whichever one it is, whichever formation you're using 5-back. And it also is essentially a 3-back. The only difference is those wingers, aka wingbacks, start further back, but they absolutely push up. And for the last time, if you turn this to a park the bus formation, right? It's no different than turning a 4-4-2 or a 4-1-2-1-2. Like I said earlier, you can turn any formation into a park the bus formation. Just using a 5-back does not make it a park the bus formation or ratty or anything like that. So I just wanted to clarify that. Like I said, if you want to use a 5-back and something like this was stopping you, don't let it. For those of you who think you see a 5-back automatically and, oh, then this person's a rat or they're toxic, which does happen, trust me, you're wrong. Stop doing it. Or if you choose to disagree with me, that's fine, but this isn't an opinion-based thing. This is a fact, what I'm trying to tell you right now. So hopefully you were just misinformed and this will help educate you. If not, so be it, and keep grinding, keep having fun. We'll see you next time.